Welcome to the video, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Braxis here, Arma 3. Going to be going over all the basic controls. There's going to be a menu on the left side of the screen. You can hit X to get rid of that. 1, 2, and 3 will skip you to different parts of the video. 1 will skip you to stances. 2 will skip you to gun controls. And 3 will skip you to how to control your scope and all that good stuff. So let's go over basic controls. You know how standard games work. W, A, S, and D. Move your character around in the game environment. Inside Arma 3, the enter key on your number pad will change you between first person and third person view unless the server is locked into hardcore mode, in which case you'll only have access to this first person view. I like to play in third person until I get into combat and then switch to first person. Other basic controls: X will lower your stance down, X again will stand you back up, Z is to go prone. You can hit X or C to stand the whole way up or lay the whole way down. Actually, apparently they got rid of hitting C to stand the whole way up. Other than that, hitting W will move you forward. Hitting Shift will make you run. Hitting hitting W and S key at the same time will bring you into a walking stance. And if you hit C and then press forward, it will bring up your gun, and you'll use a little bit more stamina, but you'll be able to move with your sights up. Now, you'll exhaust a little bit faster, but this is particularly good if you need to keep moving at a relatively decent pace and you're inside of an urban environment. You want to keep your sights up so that you can quickly turn a corner, pop a few shots off if you need to, and get back behind cover. Other than that, lowering C will give you a little bit more stamina. You'll be able to run at a normal pace. Your gear does matter. Now let's talk about how to get into gear. You hit I to go into your inventory. Each one of these slots is clickable. For an example, right here, we're looking at what's inside of my fatigues, first aid packs, ammunition, smoke grenade. Double clicking on the vest pouch will tell you what's in there, frag grenades, and more. You've got your helmet, goggles, night vision, your binoculars, and or range finders. Your weapon, all of its attachments, secondary weapon, its attachments, your pistol, its attachments, so on and so forth, map, GPS, radio, compass, and so on. In order to bring up your compass, you hold down the letter K. If you want your compass to stay on the screen, you double tap. You need to keep that in mind for most of the game. Double tap will work for almost all controls. That way they stay up on the screen. You hit O to bring up your watch. And if you do have a GPS, you should be able to hit, not letter G, but G does throw a grenade, so we just covered that. G will throw your grenades. You can't throw them out like you would Call of Duty style. You have to wait until they hit the ground before you can throw another one. And we'll save the heat grenades for now. Smoke grenades will break line of sight in between you and NPCs. You want to keep that in mind. It does work against players, but players can kind of see through the smoke, so you don't want to really rely on that too much. Other basic controls: double tapping control will lower your weapon and will allow you to walk with your weapon. Double tapping again will bring it up. If you come into a game and your weapon's lowered, just remember double tapping control will raise and lower your weapon. Above the enter key on your keyboard is the backslash key. The backslash key will make you salute. You can bind it to surrender if you want to put your hands over your head, depending on what game mode you're actually playing. Now, other basic controls I'm going to cover in a separate video when I get to AI controls and stuff like that. Now we're going to go right into stances. So in Arma 3, they really overworked the stance system, and I'm going to show you exactly how to do the stances. Now, you already know some of the basic stances. X will drop you to your knees, X will drop you to prone, but there are stances in between that are really valuable, particularly when you get up against destroyed rubble, etc. Now, to activate secondary stance modes, what you need to do is you need to hit Control, and that will give you access to secondary commands. So, for an example, Control X will lower you down one. Control X again. One moment. I'm sorry, it's not Control X, it's Control S. Control S will change your stance to a secondary stance. So Control S will lower you down a little bit. For an example, Control D will lean you to the side. Control A will bring you back into the middle, and then Control A will take you to the other side. So you definitely want to practice that just hold in control and go through your stances. Hit S again. It'll drop you a little bit lower than you were. Again, now you're on your knees. Again, you're a little bit lower, even lower. This is great for hiding behind rocks, etc. In between each stance, there's always the side angle stance. And this is what we call the sniping sitting position. And basically, it gives you extreme stability with your weapon when you're in this stance. Unfortunately, when you're sitting, you don't have any extra stances, and hitting Control S one more time will bring you down into the prone position. Now, from the prone position, you have side-facing stances if you need to lean around a wall. Simply crawling around the side might leave you a little bit vulnerable, so just getting near the edge and then doing this will bring you around the end. For an example here, let's just scoot over a hair, and we'll pretend that this white line is our wall. And we'll drop down the first-person view, and I'll show you exactly what I'm talking about. For some reason, I can't get back into third or first-person mode there, but you kind of get the idea. Now, control basically in Arma 3 will give you access to all your secondary stances. And as you can see, there's a lot of different stances that they brought for you in Arma 3, and a lot of them have legitimate values, particularly this stance here, being down below rock cover, etc., being able to lean out suddenly and then get back down. That's particularly nice. The sitting position is great for sniping. It gives you just about the same control that you get when you're in prone position, but not quiet. It's very, very, very close. You'll still get quite a bit of sway when you're looking down the scope of a high-powered rifle. Now, this is just an MRCO scope. What MRCO stands for, I couldn't actually tell you, but we'll be getting into that. So that's going to cover the basic stances. There's not too many other things you can do with your stance here, but as you can see, there's a lot of different variations of the stances, and each one has their own perks and their own drawbacks. For an example, the extremely low position will always bring you back into the low position. However, if you try to run from that position, sometimes you'll get a really weird effect, like the one that you just saw there, where you get an extremely strange effect. Now when your character stops, he's in the outwards leaning position, which you have to correct to be able to move normally. Just giving you some more examples here of how the different stances can affect you. So that's going to cover stances. Now, the last thing I want to cover in this video is weapon controls. This is something not a whole lot of people really understand yet. Now, unfortunately, I don't know all the scripting needed to bring in all the different scopes that I need. However, basically when playing Arma 3, unless you're playing a sniper, which I don't suggest unless you're shooting over 600 meters and further, everything that you're going to need is going to be attached to an MRCO scope, which is exactly what I'm using here. A regular MRCO won't have this little top sight here. It'll only be this sight here. Now, let me go over the controls quickly of how you get in and out of these two different sights. Now, first, you have your red dot sight. This is good up to 100 meters, 150, between 100 and 200 meters. The red dot sight will be more than enough for you. For an example, shooting over in that bush, you should see the bullet sitting in the dirt just a short distance away. Let's go ahead and get on the map. And yeah, pushers really don't show up, but let's just put a marker over there, and I'm going to assume, okay, it's 130-ish meters to that bush. So in between 100 and 200 meters, you're just fine using that version of the scope. Now, the controls to get into the secondary version of the scope are simply hitting the control key and then right-clicking on your mouse. That'll bring up your secondary scope. Now, what you need to keep in mind about this scope is the little red, well, not little red line, but the tall red line above the number 4 there, and the dot itself. The dot itself is going to be about 150-ish meters, and anything above that will be closer. What you need to keep in mind is, unless you're actually dialing your scope in and out, which I'll be showing you how to do, if you're in a close confrontation, for an example, say someone's right here at this building, simply shooting at the red dot may or may not get you exactly where you need to be, but as long as you can see the red line on your screen lined up in their chest region, then you know for certain that you are going to hit them somewhere on their body in between their hips and their upper chest. Now, it gets a little more hairy the further out you go. As you can see the numbers 4, 6, and 8. In between 4, 6, and 8 are little dashes, so it's 400 meters, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 1,000 meters. And this scope is accurate up to 1,000 meters. However, you need to keep in mind different round sizes have different power. For an example, the I think it's 12.7 millimeter rounds that come in the sniper rifles can travel 1,000 meters in under a second. However, 6.5 millimeter rounds are going to take almost a second and a half to 2 seconds to travel 1,000 meters. So for this example, let's go ahead and get down into the setting position. If you look in the upper right corner there, you could actually see what stance I'm in, etc. So just for this demonstration, let me see if I can find something that is around about, I mean, that's not quite, that's probably around 400 meters. But as you can see, that was almost a half second to a full second delay time in the distance between here and there when I fired. And there you saw the splash again. Just keep an eye right in the center of your screen. Kick it up to 1080p if you need to. And you'll be able to see that it actually takes a little bit of time for that bullet to get there. You can imagine what happens over 1,000 meters. You're looking at considerable travel time. So anything over 600 meters, you want to be using a really high-powered rifle, a high-powered round. Now, as far as round sizes and stuff like that, I highly suggest you go check out my friend Sergeant Merrill. There will be a small link in the lower left corner of that menu that I was talking about that will take you over to his channel. He's a gun enthusiast, and he can tell you all about the different round sizes and all that good stuff. Right now he's doing some stuff with Battlefield 4, but hey, he goes over all the technical aspects of it. All I know is how it operates inside of this game. I've never actually gone out and shot real rifles myself, so there's that for you. But the final controls that you need to know for your rifle itself are how to use your attachments and stuff. So for an example, and you won't be able to see this right now, it has an IR laser pointer. And this is basically for highlighting targets during the night for players and enemies. Now, we need to keep in mind is anyone else that has night vision are going to be able to see laser markers. But in order to activate your laser, all you have to do is hit the L key. The L key will turn it on and off. So that's how you turn your laser sight on and off. We already covered the scope, and the silencer has absolutely no controls over it. All you can do is take it on and off the gun. It doesn't make a huge difference. However, what you need to keep in mind is instead of the game forcing you to use lower powered rounds for silenced weapons, for an example, the 6.5 rounds that I have inside this weapon, if I was going to put a silencer on it, it would probably require a special type of ammunition that has a lower velocity speed, a lower amount of gunpowder inside the bullet itself to try to compensate for, the silencer itself. You don't want to damage it. Putting out too much power and, too fast rounds will just damage a silencer. So they don't make you put in a weaker ammunition. It automatically adjusts it for you. For an example, with an unsilenced 6.5 millimeter round versus an enemy AI, 3 shots to the chest, unsilenced, will normally kill them. With a silenced round, it takes about 4. Give or take. It depends on where you hit them. If you hit them square in the chest, right where the heart would be, it's only going to take you 2 silenced rounds. If you're hitting them in the gut, it's going to take you 4. However, if you're unsilenced, 1 round to the chest will take them down, and 2 rounds to the gut will take them out. So you need to keep that in mind. Even though they don't say that it's moving to a lower powered ammunition, it actually is. The last thing I want to talk about is dialing in your scope. Unfortunately, I don't have a rangefinder, so we're going to be cheating in this. Now, the distance between my little character here and this point here was 130 meters. However, if you shift click anywhere else on the map, it's going to go ahead and throw down a marker. And that's 677 meters to that point. Now, 600 meters Let's just take a shot and see if it lands there. I doubt it will. What you can do is do page up and page down if you have a sniper scope. Now, unfortunately, this isn't a sniper scope and it can't be dialed up and down. It's stuck for 300 meters. That way, the scope on top of the rifle is accurate. However, we're just going to show you how to dial them in by taking it off. Now, iron sights can actually be dialed in. So page up, if you look in the upper right corner of the screen, you'll see page up 100, 200, 300, 400, 500, 600, 677 meters. So we're going to kick it up to 700. Unfortunately, the iron sights won't allow you to go up to 700 meters. But as I said before, you should not be using a normal rifle to shoot over 600 meters to begin with. But as you can see, it's really, really difficult to tell exactly where you're aiming. So I think what we'll do is we will aim, and you can't hold in right click to slow your motion that much because your character runs out of breath. But what we're going to try to do is we're going to try to shoot 600 meters and see where it lands. And there's no way for me to tell where that lands. But that's the basic controls for how to zero in your scope if you have a rangefinder. That's how you know you'll shoot accurately every time. Different types of scopes that you can put on your weapon are going to let you dial them in. There are some higher powered scopes that you can put on a normal rifle that'll let you dial it in. However, you need to keep in mind the travel time on a smaller round is going to be a lot higher than if you just pick up a high powered rifle with a travel time of 1,000 meters per second. So that's basically going to wrap it up for weapons, stances, and basic controls for the game. If there's anything you guys would like to know, go ahead, leave it in the comments, and I'll try to make a video for it. I'm trying to get back into making videos. I'm kind of done with the World of Warcraft thing. I just want to stick with the Arma 3 for now. I'm really enjoying Arma 3 and all it has to offer, particularly with all these new mods coming out. I'm going to be doing some more Altus Life here in the future. The one problem with doing Altus Life series happens to be that there is no just sit down and play and hope you capture something. I mean, when you decide you're going to play Altus Life for the day, like that's what you're doing that day. You're probably going to play like 10 hours, and you're might going to capture like 5 or 6 minutes of really intense action. The rest of it's going to be like stupid crap, traveling from A to B. Hooking up with a couple of guys and going, maybe to like rob the bank or something like that. It's not a good series to try to capture on YouTube. I'm trying to do it, but and quite honestly, it's the kind of series you want to live stream. So I may be doing that in the future, live streaming days when I play Altus Life. But like I said, it's not something that you can just, sit down and play 10, 20 minutes of and get some, good footage and stuff. Like, you're going to sit there for 4 or 5 hours and be playing Altus Life, especially because you got to build up money and stuff like that. So, if I decide to live stream that any day, I'll schedule it like 3 days beforehand. I'll leave a notice up here on the channel, and anyone who wants to come play with me or come watch a stream, etc., you're more than welcome to do that. I definitely want to get into a series where I get a few more YouTubers or anybody in with me, just to have some fun and record that stuff, because games are a lot more fun with your friends. Anyhow, that's going to wrap it up for this video, guys. I've been Imbraxis, and I'll catch you later.